so we'll let you know. If that's the case, we'll be leaving probably on Sunday, maybe Saturday, maybe a little.
Yep, this is Donald Trump right here, right
Saturday
now.
evening, but that's
He's going to be talking about Antifa.
It should be clear to
I'm
all
always
Americans
interested
that we have a very serious left-wing terror
anyone to
threat in our
explain to
country.
me,
Radicals
what is
associated
Antifa?
with the domestic
Does it
terrorist
actually exist?
group Antifa that you've
He
heard a
sure
lot
thinks
about
so.
lately, and
Here
I've
he
heard a lot
goes.
about them for 10 years. And other far-left extremists have been carrying out a campaign of violence against ICE agents and other officials charged with enforcing federal law. In Chicago, anarchists have surveilled at least 4 local ICE facilities and posted diagrams of the buildings online, meaning nothing but bad, accompanied by photos of specific ICE agents that they're targeting, one in particular who's a top person and a great patriot. In July, approximately a dozen Antifa-aligned militants stormed the ICE facility in Texas and then lured officers out of the building before firing dozens of rounds at police. They were crazy, frankly, shooting one Texas officer in the neck. And in Portland, Oregon, Antifa thugs have repeatedly attacked our officers and laid siege to federal property in an attempt to violently stop the execution of federal law. Everything we're doing is very lawful.
It's convenient
what they're
to
doing
make
is
up
not
something
lawful. And
to call
what,
these people,
the
but
governor and the mayor of,
Antifa
as an
has
example,
no
you could
national
say of
leadership
Portland, and you
website,
can say
membership
certainly
list.
of Chicago. It's not lawful.
I really
what
don't
they're
know
doing.
what
They have
it
to be
is.
very careful. In addition, 2 weeks ago, a radical left terrorist in Dallas conducted a sniper attack on a local ICE facility, killing 2 people and leaving behind a note that read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents some real terror." That's bad. This attack came the very same month that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a far-left extremist who inscribed the words, "Hey, fascist, catch," meaning catch the bullet, onto the bullet shelf itself. The epidemic of left-wing violence and Antifa-inspired terror has been escalating.
Now that's
for
Antifa
nearly a
inspired.
decade.
See, now there's a
At
little bit of
universities, Antifa
a
has organized
qualification
riotous
there.
mobs to attack campus speakers. I see it all the
Antifa-inspired.
time. And these are agitators, anarchists.
I don't know how somebody
And they're paid.
inspires others that
And you'll find that out. You'll be
They have
finding it
nowhere
out very
they're
soon.
inspiring.
You should see what
They
we
don't
have
have
on
a
these
website.
people.
They
These are
don't
bad
have
people. These are people that want to
leadership,
destroy our
membership
country.
lists.
We're not going to let it happen. They've used armed gangs to assault local police in cities nationwide, and they've attacked journalists reporting on their crimes. So the journalists that report on their crimes, don't worry, you're very safe. I hope that's not going to turn you around, but they have been very threatening to people, but we're going to be very threatening to them, far more threatening to them than they ever were with us, and that includes the people that fund them. Probably some of the people I know, some of the people I dine with, but if they do, they're in deep trouble. So we're going to be looking very strongly at the people that are funding these operations. When you see the signs, and they're all made out of a beautiful, beautiful paper, beautiful, nice, stiff, very expensive paper with beautiful wood handles, all the same color. They come from very expensive printing machines. These are not people that write out their signs in a basement that believe in something. These are paid anarchists.
So Antifa must
At least 3
after
of
all.
these courageous journalists have personally been victims of Antifa attacks. Andy Ngo has been repeatedly beaten by Antifa thugs for his work in Andy is a very serious person, too, I have to tell you. I've been watching him for a long time. Is Andy here? That's what I thought. Hello, Andy. I thought that was you. You're looking better than you do out on those streets, huh? You look much better. It's nice to have you. You feel a little safer here, I think, maybe. Well, not that safe, because you have them. You have to worry about them. But thank you very much. Andy Ngo has been repeatedly beaten by Antifa, and including one assault that left him with a brain hemorrhage. Only days ago, Nick Sortor was assaulted in Portland by a flag-burning mob, and we've made it 1-year penalty for inciting riots. We took the freedom of speech away because that's been through the courts, and the court said you have freedom of speech. But what has happened is when they burn a flag, it agitates and irritates crowds. I've never seen anything like it on both sides, and you end up with riots. So we're going on that basis. We're looking at it from not from the freedom of speech, which I always felt strongly about, but never passed the courts. This is what they do, is they incite, when you burn an American flag, you incite tremendous violence. We have many examples of it, many examples of it, and it's actually down on tape, and you see things happen that just don't happen unless it's the flag that's burning. Very recently, Katie Davis Court was hit in the face with a flagpole in Portland by an Antifa radical, leaving her with a very blackened eye. So, Katie, thank you very much. And I'd like to also say that I watched Nick. Where's Nick? Is Nick here? Nick? Hi, Nick. That was a rough time you went through. I hope you got my little note. I wrote you a note.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It helped a lot because it was a difficult situation. It was very stressful, and your note helped a lot. I truly appreciate it.
I thought it was terrible, actually. I thought it was terrible. So we'll talk about it a little bit. Under the last administration, the Department of Justice targeted faithful Catholics, Christians, and patriotic parents as domestic extremists. They said, oh, they're extreme because they believe in God. They're extreme because they go to Catholic church, or evangelicals, where everybody was under the gun. Unless you were a really bad, sick person, then they left you alone. Under the Trump administration, we're going after Antifa criminals, and all who fund and support their campaigns are in serious trouble. And we have a lot of records already, a lot of surprises, a lot of bad surprises. It's people that you would never think.
The FBI has never identified an actual organization called Antifa, just for the record.
It was amazing, and she just did it from the heart and the brain, because she's very smart, in all fairness. But she did it from the heart, and she did it an incredible. Everybody was talking about it. She exposed some of these fake senators, these terrible senators, people like Blumenthal that had a phony war. For 20 years, he talked about it, what a hero he was, and it turned out he never went to Vietnam. For 20 years, he talked about being a hero in Vietnam. Then it was exposed when he said what platoon he was with, and it was exposed that somebody was watching from that particular platoon. They said he was never with us, and then he went out.
Real quick, here's a definition of Antifa that I put together just for the heck of it to try and identify what this is that we're always talking about. Antifa, short for anti-fascist. It's a loose movement of activists and small groups who oppose far-right extremism, white nationalism, and authoritarianism. It has no central leadership, membership list, or national organization. Participants often organize locally or online. U.S. law enforcement and researchers have generally described Antifa as an ideology as opposed to an actual organization, a decentralized network rather than a formal group. But they're a convenient bogeyman for the president to constantly talk about.
Secretary Noem and Director Patel, and we're going to have some of the people around the table very courageous. And they're going to be talking, journalists, almost all, and they're going to be talking, and we'll take some questions from the press at the end. Okay, Pam, please.
Thank you, President Trump. And as you made clear, Antifa is a domestic left-wing terrorist organization. We've seen them on video for years.
Our own
because
FBI
they
said
wanted
it's
to be
not an
seen, and
organization.
they got away with it. They beat journalists, they attack courthouses, they attack police stations, they dox and assault our law enforcement officers. The Biden administration let them commit these crimes with total impunity for years. So did Democrat leaders like Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson. Last week, independent journalist Nick Sorter was arrested just for protecting himself against Antifa. I saw it online and I called Nick. I couldn't believe what happened. He did all this just trying to save our American flag from being burned. He was pushed down and assaulted, yet the local police arrested Nick, not the Antifa thugs who did this to him. Antifa feels empowered to operate in the open because weak Democrats have turned a blind eye to their actions. Their hatred for President Trump and for law and order agendas fuels their violence. We've seen more than 1,000% increase in attacks against our ICE agents since January 20th. Secretary Noem is out there fighting for you firsthand to keep our federal officers safe, to keep our federal buildings safe, and we're not going to have it anymore, these thugs. We saw what's happening in Portland and Chicago, and you saw what happened in Dallas. No longer. This is not activism, it's anarchy. We can't and we will not let masked terrorists burn our buildings, attack our law enforcement, and intimidate our communities. Under your leadership, President Trump, we're deploying the full might of the federal law enforcement to crack down on Antifa and other domestic terrorist organizations led by Stephen Miller. And Stephen, thank you for everything you're doing. Last week, I issued a memo ordering our federal law enforcement agents, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and ATF to protect ICE officers from Antifa and other radical left-wing violence. Director Patel has been going non-stop. He and Deputy Attorney General Blanche were in Chicago yesterday. While Secretary Noem was in Portland, we are around this country fighting against this domestic terrorism. We had Apple and Google take down the ICE block apps. Hope they continue to comply with that. It's threatening the safety of our federal law enforcement officers. We're not going to stop at just arresting the violent criminals we can see in the streets. Fighting crime is more than just getting the bad guy off the streets. It's breaking down the organization brick by brick. Just like we did with cartels, we're going to take the same approach, President Trump, with Antifa. Destroy the entire organization from top to bottom.
First you got to find
We're
it.
going to
They've got
take
no
them
leadership.
apart.
They've got no top.
Thanks
They've
to
got
your
no
bold
bottom. They don't
leadership
even
and
have a
the designation of
website.
Antifa as a terrorist organization, which is exactly what they are, Americans will no longer tolerate their unhinged violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pam. Christine.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for hosting today and focusing on Antifa and the terrorists that they are. Let's not make any mistake. These individuals do not just want to threaten our law enforcement officers, threaten our journalists, and the citizens of this country. They want to kill them. Their agenda is to destroy the American people and our way of life, and this president is standing in their way. He is stopping them from bringing their death and their destruction to the individual citizens in this country that just want to raise their kids and their grandkids in peace and in safety. I want to also thank everyone around this table for being so bold and so brave, for standing up and recognizing the threat that Antifa is to our way of life. By recognizing how advanced they are, how sophisticated their networks are, how they've infiltrated our entire country, and we're seeing them play out with their tactics from city to city, and how they have built out their funding mechanisms. And sir, I also want to thank our Treasury Secretary for his work in getting to the bottom of these funding mechanisms and individuals who are perpetuating this violence on our American cities.
They've never named a single
yesterday
individual.
and had the chance to visit with the governor
Leader,
of Oregon and
membership
also
list,
the mayor.
anything.
They're in town
Antifa.
and they are
This is
absolutely
fantasy.
covering up the terrorism that is hitting their streets. While you talked about some of the stories of our ICE agents, our Border Patrol agents, how they have been attacked, how they have been shot at, injured, the damage that they've done, these leaders in these local cities, along with Pritzker and Johnson, ignore what's going on, or, sir, they're helping Antifa cover it up. We have arrested dozens of individuals
now
that are
Pritzker,
Antifa
the governor of
members
Illinois,
or
is helping
affiliated with
Antifa
them,
now.
and I want to thank our Attorney General for prosecuting them and making sure they never see the light of day again. They have been so bold in making sure we're bringing those individuals to justice. One of the individuals we arrested recently in Portland was the girlfriend of one of the founders of Antifa, and that we are hoping that as we go after her, interview her, and prosecute her, we will get more and more information about the network and how we can root them out and eliminate them from the existence of American society. I want to thank the new journalists here today for telling their stories and for being able and willing to go to the streets and to cover what's happening here in America. Many times the legacy
New
media has looked the
journalists.
other way, refused to tell the
what
stories. The
that
networks
is.
have not really focused on what this is and what damage it is doing to our country, and how this network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as
Oh, there we go.
ISIS, as Hezbollah,
I'll
as
give them
Hamas, as
that.
all of them.
MS-13,
They are
you could
just as
actually
dangerous.
prove
They have
the
an
existence
agenda to
of
destroy us, just
MS-13.
like the other terrorists we've dealt with for many, many years.
Still waiting
And today is the day
for
that we have a
anyone
president that won't tolerate
to
it
be
and will stand
identified
up and
as a
fight for the
leader
American
of
people. So
Antifa.
thank you for being here, for being so bold,
They
and
don't
for
even have a
standing in the
website.
gap at such a time as this. It will matter, it will make a difference, and your life will be one of significance because of what you've done today. So with that, God bless you, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cash, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Boy, it's
Mr.
the hit
President,
parade.
The American people gave you a sweeping mandate in your victory in this election cycle, and they demanded safety and security for our citizens. And your administration, with your leadership, has provided us with the resources that we need, which is a whole of government approach to go after criminals absolutely everywhere, not just outside of this country, but within this country. And that takes a whole of government approach. The interagency seated up here with the Department of Homeland Security, our Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and your White House staffers, including Stephen Miller's leadership, has allowed us to go out there and map out these networks. What we are doing at the FBI is simple. It does not require rocket science. We are following the money. Money never lies. And that's what it's going to take to bring down this network of organized criminal thugs, gangbangers, and yes, domestic terrorists, because that's what they are. They are harming everyday citizens in every single one of our communities. And the folks you see here on the right and left, they're some of the bravest
This
men
is
and women
made
we
up,
have
folks.
today. They're reporting the stories live
They
time
can't
because the
prove any
mainstream
of
media
this.
won't cover it. They're putting their lives on the line.
The
They're
crimes
standing
are
up for
out
the flag.
there.
The least we can do
The idea
is
that
stand up
it's
for them.
an
So you have my
international or
thanks.
national
I read more of your stories
organization
than I do theirs, because you guys are
called
putting out the
Antifa?
truth. And we deserve a country where
just
you
ain't
are
there.
protected as equally as they are.
Can't prove it.
We in this FBI will go after with the criminals with a vengeance. We will not rest until we find every single seed, money, donor, organization, and funding mechanism that we have. And I want to echo the Secretary's comments on Scott Bessent, who's allowing us to map out these networks through their financial criminal activities, which has been going on for decades. And I would like to remind the American public, they built this disease temple of corruption over decades. And in 8 short months, Mr. President, you have crippled their foundation because of your leadership here, because of the interagency, because of people like Deputy Attorney General Blanche, and because of Attorney General Pam Bondi's fearless leadership to go after criminals wherever they are. They will not be able to hide. They were able to hide and conspire with prior administrations, and we are exposing their corruption from within. And we will go to every single city in this country under Operation Summer Heat and the other operations we are doing at the FBI to bring these criminals to justice. We will arrest every single one of them from whatever perch you sit in, private or public, no matter how your goal or your ambition is. It will be
think you
crushed
can see
by the
the-
Constitution because the American people deserve
You can see
law and
the
order.
pattern here. They're establishing
Thank you very
Antifa
much.
as this
Great job.
organization
Right
that
here. Would
doesn't
any of you like to say something?
exist in any way,
We're-
shape, or form like they describe it,
part
but
of a fine group of
they're
people,
setting it up
all good
as
journalists and
the
reporters.
excuse for going after anything from George Soros to
Absolutely.
the mayor of Chicago
Members of the cabinet really
to say that
appreciate,
because that they
you
support
guys
this
bringing this together. And the fact
fantasy
that we all
organization
here
they've
today on such
imagined,
short notice,
and therefore are subject to all kinds of federal response. I mean, Trump said he wants to put the governor of Illinois in jail and the mayor of Chicago. So there we have it. It's what Rachel Maddow called the consolidating dictatorship.
Obviously, when I went to jail,